Gus Bradley in his 4th season as the Jaguars head coach, just a 2-12 record against the NFC. His team comes in with a 2-7 record. They've lost 4 consecutive games. On the other sideline, Jim Caldwell, in his 3rd year with the Lions. His first game as an NFL head coach was with the Colts. It was against Jacksonville. We met with him on Friday, and he said, I was just hoping that first game as head coach would go easy, wouldn't be too many hard decisions. He said every complex scenario that could have come up in the first game did, although his Colts did beat the Jaguars back in 2009, 14-12. Lions will be home again on Thursday for Thanksgiving Day, their annual game. This year it'll be against the Minnesota Vikings. Those two teams tied for first in the NFC North, although Detroit beat the Vikings 2 weeks ago in overtime in Minnesota. And then the Lions had a bye last week. Detroit won the toss, and they have elected to receive the opening kickoff. Andre Roberts is back deep.
Both these teams realize the significance of getting off to a great start. The Jaguars, one of the main reasons they are 2-7 is because they've trailed almost exclusively this whole season in Detroit. They want to get this crowd fired up and ready to play against the Jaguars team hungry for a win.
Myers kicks it away, and it will be a touchback. Detroit will start at the 25-yard line. Matthew Stafford in a very good groove of late. Last 5 games, 11 touchdowns to just 1 interception, and not surprisingly, the Lions have won 4 of their last 5 games.
Yeah, this guy, we spoke about in the open, he's an MVP kind of candidate. It's hard to pick somebody who's more important to their team. A lot of their in the areas, as Jim Caldwell told us, have been struggling. That's one guy who has not struggled at all. He is thriving in 2016.
Stafford starts in the shotgun and looking to throw on first down. Completes his first pass to Anquan Bolden. He's wrapped up at the 32. The ball came out late, but they're saying he was down.
Well, I don't know about that.
Jalen Ramsey was the one that poked it free.
You know, Anquan Bolden's a big physical receiver. He always fights for those extra yards.
Yeah,
that might have been coming out of there.
You can't see the ball. His elbow went down.
Gus Bradley has thrown the challenge flag.
It happened right in front of the Jacksonville bench, and if there is a clear recovery, even if the whistle blew, Jacksonville could come up with this football, and it could be the key that they've been looking for a month now. They haven't been able to get a turnover for a long time.
It's the left knee, whether or not the left knee hit the ground. That ball was stripped.
Well, now you got to look at the other angle and see when it was stripped as compared to when his knee was down. You can't see both things in the same piece of video.
Jaguars have not forced a turnover in 5 straight. Can they get one here? Call on the field, down by contact. The Jaguars have challenged the ruling on the field. The referee today is Bill Vinovich as we take another look.
Well, there, Bolden is down. The ball is out. Now, that's the question.
Ruling on the field stands.
Yeah.
Jacksonville's charged the first timeout and the first challenge.
We've been watching all through the break, and it was so close that there was still a debate, even though Bolden's elbow was down, the ball was out, his elbow was down. If there's still a debate at the end of the video review, they're going to let it stand, and that's exactly what happened.
And Gus Bradley can't get a break. I do believe that was a fumble, but the angle, there was no way to see whether that ball was coming loose before the elbow hit the ground. That worked to Detroit's favor. Obviously, Gus Bradley just another snake bit one more time.
I'll tell you what, though, it's a good challenge. I mean, we've seen Gus Bradley's actually been pretty good this year on his challenges. I thought that was a pretty good challenge because you could see Detroit going no huddle to get away from it. They thought it was a fumble as well.
Yeah, you almost have to challenge it.
They've tied the record for the most consecutive games without a turnover. One more today, and they will set a new NFL record. And there was movement on the line. This
Taylor Decker
is going against Detroit.
Ball start. Offense number 68. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
That's on Taylor Decker, the rookie left tackle. As we take a look at the Lions starting offense, and Riley Reef back in at right tackle. He did not play against Minnesota because of an illness. And we saw Anquan Boldin with the 7-yard pickup on the first play from scrimmage.
1,044 receptions, number 11 on the all-time list. This guy just keeps getting it done. 5 touchdowns on the year as well.
Second down and 8, and Stafford going back to the air, dumps it down to Riddick. Riddick has the 30 and tripped up by Aaron Colvin, just short of a first down. As we take a look at the Jacksonville starting defense, Yannick Ngakoue, the rookie, leads the team with 4 sacks on the season. We mentioned Telvin Smith in our open. His brother shot and killed last Sunday. He is starting for Jacksonville today. And Jalen Ramsey, the man to keep an eye on in the Jaguars secondary.
He's a phenomenal athlete, and he's the key not only for the Jaguars defensive secondary where he lines up, but he's also the key for the Detroit offense. They got to find him.
3rd and 2. The Lions are 7th in the NFL in converting 3rd downs this year at 43%. Stafford rifles one to Golden Tate, lunges forward, and we'll have to see where they spot it. Colvin on the tackle. This is very close to a first down. And it is a first down.
Great second effort by Tate. I mean, he was stopped a yard short, kept his balance, and then just lunges forward with both hands, secures the football to get it over the 35-yard line. And in fact, he got a little bit of a unfavorable spot. I thought he should have gotten across the 35, but still a first down.
So 1st and 10 from the 35-yard line.
7 wide, 7 hot. We're good. Ready. 280. Like that.
And on the carry, it's Dwayne Washington who gets a yard or 2, the rookie out of Washington. Matthew Stafford playing in his 103rd career game today, the most by a Lions quarterback in franchise history. 18 touchdowns on the season, just 5 interceptions, and he's had to do a lot of the work because this Lions run game continues to be slow. They haven't had a 100-yard rusher in 45 consecutive games, and on the season they average just 86 yards per game on the ground, which is 27th in the NFL. Stafford to his tight end Eric Ebron, his first catch of the day, met by Telvin Smith, who makes his first tackle of the afternoon.
You talk about the importance of that running game, Andrew, as we look at the nice play by Telvin Smith. He's one of the most explosive, fast linebackers in the NFL in his 3rd year. But when you talk about the running game, this is a Lions team that has not rushed for over 100 yards in 7 weeks. And it would make Matthew Stafford's job, this offense's job, much easier if they could get that run game going.
Week 2 against Tennessee, the last time as a team they rushed for over 100 yards. It's 3rd down and 6. Lions have done a good job this year on 3rd and 6 and more. Stafford over the middle and incomplete. He was looking for Boldin again, and out comes the Detroit punt unit.
Matthew Stafford completing close to 70% of his passes right here. Uncharacteristic to miss Anquan Boldin with a half a step.
Yeah, that's one of the things that Jacksonville defense is allowing. 74% completion by their opposing quarterbacks. Stafford, you would think, would feast on that, but here early on, Jacksonville does a nice job. Came out in a 2-deep zone and then manned up underneath it.
Rashad Green is back deep to return the punt for Jacksonville. Good one by Sam Martin, and Green calls for a fair catch at the 11 after a 48-yard punt. Blake Bortles and the Jaguars offense coming out when we come back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest. Yes to low fares with nothing to hide. That's transparency. Verizon. Welcome to Verizon LTE Advanced, the next-gen network. And by Acura. Precision-crafted performance.
Be the first to know your team's news with the CBS Sports app. Get instant updates, expert analysis, highlights, and more. Download the CBS Sports app today. Blake Bortles entered the week with the most passing attempts in the NFL. Averages 42 per game, and his 11 interceptions are tied for the second most in the NFL. Ryan Fitzpatrick has the most. It's TJ Yeldon on first down for Jacksonville, and he gets up to the 20-yard line. Take a look at the Jacksonville starting offense. Kelvin Beachum gets the start at left tackle in his first season after coming over from Pittsburgh. And Allen Robinson, a homecoming for Robinson today, a native of Southfield, Michigan, about 15 miles outside Detroit. 7-yard pickup for Yeldon on first down, makes it 2nd and 3. Bortles to Mercedes Lewis. He has some room to run. First down for Mercedes Lewis, out of bounds at the 35-yard line after a pickup of 15 yards. The Detroit defense. Kyrie Thornton starts again, and Tyron Walker, the defensive tackle, inactive. A healthy scratch for the first time this year for the Lions. Tahir Whitehead having a great season in the middle, leads the team in tackles with 86, and Darius Slay back after missing the last 2 games because of a hamstring injury. Yeldon again, and Haloti Ngata wraps him up at the line of scrimmage.
You know, Andrew, you mentioned you see a nice play. Haloti Ngata has missed a significant part of this season right there in the mid number 92, coming through the backfield, really unblocked. He's going to make that play every single time. But you talked about Blake Bortles, the most pass attempts in the NFL through week 10. He'd love nothing more than to reduce that number by 10 to 15 passes, because that would mean the running game is going.
And you saw the graphic, 23 straight games without a touchdown on their opening drive. That dates back to week 2 last year against Miami, and that's just part of the many problems the Jaguars have had in the first half this year. As we chronicled in our open, a minus 78-point differential in the first half. That's worst in the NFL. And when we met with the Jaguars yesterday, when we asked them about certain issues, turnovers, lack of sacks, it all relates back to being behind in games early. They want to try to play with a lead, and if they're going to keep this drive going, they need to convert a 3rd down and 3 with Yeldon in the backfield. Bortles, good protection, completes it to Yeldon for a first down. Into Detroit territory and smacked down at the 44-yard line by Whitehead. A gain of 14 for T.J. Yeldon.
Well, a few minutes ago I said Matt Stafford should feast on this defense, but it's actually Bortles I was talking about. It's the Lions who allow a 74% completion rate, not the Jaguars. And this is a place where Bortles right here finds Yeldon right up inside. The Lions, I think, are susceptible inside the numbers on their underneath coverage, and the Jaguars are going to take advantage of that. You see that on film, where outside the numbers, the Lions are pretty good, but you get inside, the Jaguars are a tough matchup.
Chris Ivory at running back. And a lot of movement on the line, and Bill Vinovich throws a flag.
Offense number 5. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
That goes against Blake Bortles.
One of the things about the Jaguars, and you talk about him in that short passing game, they've got Chris Ivory, T.J. Yeldon. Those are 2 running backs that are much different in their skill set. You've got Mercedes Lewis and Julius Thomas, 2 very different tight ends, but both very effective with different ways. It really presents some problems for a defense to look at this offense if Bortles can get them the football.
8:05 to go first quarter. And it's Ivory up the middle with flags again. Ivory was able to get a yard. And we have another penalty.
Illegal formation. Number 78 was not on the line of scrimmage. 5-yard penalty. The penalty is declined. 2nd down.
Goes on Jeremy Parnell, the right tackle. And Blake Bortles, we mentioned coming into the week, leading the NFL in pass attempts. The majority of them when losing. This is a Jacksonville team that has not had the lead at any time in their last 4 games. The last lead they had was week 6, late in the game, when they came back to beat the Chicago Bears. So another penalty makes it 2nd and 14.
That's an amazing statistic.
Bortles to Lewis, his 2nd reception, but not much doing as Nevin Lawson, the 3rd-year corner, comes up to make the tackle.
Well, and you wonder why they have the struggles, too. I mean, to go 4 games without having the lead at any point in a ball game and not scoring on the opening drive in any game this year, as Steve Tasker mentioned in the open, they seem to be doing that rumba again today. 2 penalties in a row to put them back now in this 3rd and 13 situation. That's hard to convert.
3rd down and 13. This Lions crowd is loud, cheering on the first place Lions. A screen to Yeldon, and Yeldon is stacked up at the 45-yard line. Miles Killebrew, one of the many Lions to come up to make that tackle. It's 4th down, and out comes the punter, Brad Nortman.
Well, it's a little bit of a conservative call. You can see the Lions, they just let the rush come up to Bortles, and he dumps it off. But Detroit rallies extremely well up front, and that's a safe call, maybe hoping to break a tackle and get the first down. But this is, for the Jacksonville Jaguars, they dig their own holes more often than not, particularly early in these football games, and here's another example of it.
So it's now 24 consecutive games without an opening drive touchdown for the Jacksonville Jaguars, the longest streak in the NFL, and we're scoreless with 6:20 to go in the first. Tuesday, the Lions spent the afternoon at Selfridge Air National Guard Base, where they visited with over 500 military members and their families. And then Friday, we were at the Lions practice facility for this. They hosted 30 active duty military and veterans. They were able to visit with the players, coaches, and personnel following practice. A really neat scene out in Allen Park. Lions with their second possession. After the first one resulted in a punt, they'll start at their own 15-yard line, scoreless against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Theo Riddick in the backfield on 1st down and 10. Stafford, and that pass is batted down at the line and incomplete. Jared Odrick got a hand on that for Jacksonville. For every point scored during the NFL's 32 Salute to Service games, the league will donate $1,000 to its military nonprofit partners, including the Pat Tillman Foundation, USO, and Wounded Warrior Project. To join the salute and learn more, visit NFL.com/salute.
12-12.
Riddick trying the right side, and Avery Jones wraps him up. What a job Jones has done since coming in for the injured Roy Miller, making his 4th straight start. We met with Malik Jackson yesterday, and he said that Jones prepared every game while he was the backup as if he was the starter, and that's serving him well now that he is in the starting role for Miller. Loss of 2 on the play brings up 3rd and 12. Stafford on the run. Nowhere to go, and just throws this one away. Chased by Jared Odrick. Good coverage downfield by the Jaguars secondary as well.
Well, you look at it, Matthew Stafford, one of the few quarterbacks in this situation, backed up 3rd and long in your own end zone. You're going to give him a chance to make a play coming out of there because you trust him so much. Great coverage up the field, obviously. Nowhere to go for Matthew Stafford, and he does a good job of making a right decision. Get rid of it. There's a safety right behind him there. I think Steve ready to make that play. Stafford was looking that way the whole time.
That's been one of the big problems for the Lions this year. 3 and outs on offense, the 5th most in the NFL. A fair catch by Rashad Green at his own 42-yard line, and the Jaguars will start this drive with good field position when we return to Detroit.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Bud Light. Make the right call. Drink responsibly. And by Intel. Upgrade to a new PC with powerful performance.
Back at Ford Field in Detroit, 5:32 to go first quarter. No score between Jacksonville and Detroit. Second offensive possession for the Jaguars. Blake Bortles 4 for 4 on the opening drive, but all 4 of those passes were 2 yards or less from the line of scrimmage. So 4 dump-offs for Bortles. Let's see if they go downfield on this drive, and there is Allen Robinson with the first down reception into Detroit territory.
That was a nice job by Blake Bortles. He sees number 59, Tahir Whitehead, coming off the edge. It's a blitz. It's a hot route. He knew exactly what Detroit was doing. There's nobody to block Whitehead. He knew the adjustment, stuck it right on Robinson. That's a nice pickup.
Robinson had his first 100-yard game last week against Houston, 107 through the air and a touchdown. And it's Ivory up the middle. We mentioned earlier that it was a homecoming for Allen Robinson. Grew up in Southfield, Michigan, and he played his high school ball at Orchard Lake St. Mary's and had a great career, not only on the football field, but also on the basketball court. And he actually played, as you see here, a couple of games in high school at Ford Field. Said he had a number of family members and friends coming to this game. Robinson back home trying to lead the Jaguars to victory. Second down and 7. And it's Ivory again. And he is wrapped up by Ashawn Robinson. We go back to New York, an NFL Today update with JB and Tony Gonzalez.
All righty, Arizona, we got a good one going here early. David Johnson's going to take this carry from 1 yard out for his 10th touchdown of the year. 7-7, all knotted up.
Detroit hosts Minnesota on Thanksgiving Day, of course. Right now, the Lions hold the tie break. Back to you guys.
Yeah, it's a big one coming up Thursday on CBS, JB. But right now, the Lions have their sights set on Blake Bortles and this Jaguars offense. 3rd down and 9, and movement again on Jeremy Parnell.
Offense number 78. 5-yard penalty. Good 3rd down.
Now you can see the effect. You talked about the noise, Andrew. That's a 3rd false start on the Jacksonville Jaguars on the day right there, no doubt about it. The noise getting to this Jacksonville Jaguars offense at this point.
So 3rd and 14. This year, on 3rd and 8 or longer, the Jaguars have converted just 12% of the time. Bortles. Chased from behind by Killebrew, and he's brought down. The rookie Miles Killebrew makes another big play on 3rd down, and out comes the punter, Brad Nortman.
I think Blake Bortles is hurt here. He got off the field in pain. Something happened to his drive. I don't know whether it's his shoulder, the way he hits the ground. I think he thought he had green grass. He lands on that right shoulder. You're going to see him get up off the field quickly, but with his head down like he's in pain.
Yeah, Ziggy Ansah had him around the lower legs, and I think that's what's painful on him as he walked off. But
not a sack, 2-yard pickup for Bortles. Ziggy Ansah still without a sack this season. As Nortman boots this away to Roberts, who calls for a fair catch, and he lost it. Ball is out. It's still free. Wow. As Jacksonville finally have a turnover. They are indicating they do.
Miles Jacks thinks they do. Now it's starting to spread. But Jacksonville thinks they've got a turnover,
and they do. The streak is over. The first forced turnover by Jacksonville since week 4 in London. They had gone 23 quarters without forcing a turnover.
5 full games. If they had gone 6 games in a row without a turnover, it would have been the first time in NFL history that would have happened. Nobody more excited than Gus Bradley to see the ball bounce his way finally.
Well, it's a nice drink of water after a long drought when you get it on the 12-yard line of your plus 11-yard line of your opponent. That's the kind of turnover that really can make a difference.
Roberts is the first Lion to fumble this year other than Matthew Stafford as the Jaguars try to take advantage. Bortles, end zone for Thomas, and it's incomplete.
I'll tell you this, though, as a special teams guy, when you're back there covering punt, it's not going to count as a fumble. It'll be a muff, which is a different, and believe me, it's important to the guy. And that's this play just missing, and this we show in the open. Plays like that, you want to try and fit that in there. Those are opportunities. That's a big window in the NFL in the red zone. And those are the kind of missed opportunities that have plagued Blake Bortles. We'll see if they can get one in here as they're down in the red zone already.
Second down and 10. Yeldon to the 10, and tripped up at the 9. Couple of injury updates for Jacksonville. Mercedes Lewis is out right now. They're calling it a calf injury for Lewis, and Aaron Colvin, the defensive back, is being evaluated for a concussion.
Now, Mercedes Lewis has had calf issues before. That's a significant thing because they do want to run the football at this Detroit Lions defense. He is their best run-blocking tight end. That's a big blow if he can't play today.
Jaguars need to get to the 1-yard line for a first down. Bortles, pump fakes, hit, and the ball is out! And A.J. Cann falls on it, and now they're saying that it was an incomplete pass, not a fumble. So Bortles trots off, and out comes the kicker, Jason Myers.
Yeah, he's going to step up, and he's looking at Yeldon right there as he comes back. He thinks he can fit it in. Then he has to double clutch it, triple clutch it, and that's a good call. I think that's an incomplete pass as Ansah comes off the backside. Ziggy Ansah once again on the back of Blake Bortles. And Jim Caldwell told us, I think this is the week when Ziggy Ansah comes back after the bye. He's going to be a lot healthier and play a lot better. He's been dragging around a bad ankle for a long, long time.
Yeah, Jim Caldwell couldn't contain the smile when he talked about how he felt Ansah was going to make an impression.
Myers from 27 yards, and it's good. So the muff by Andre Roberts leads to 3 points for Jacksonville, and Bortles getting looked at on the sideline. 3-0 Jaguars, and that's significant because it's the first time since late in the game, week 6 at Chicago, that Jacksonville has actually had a lead. In their last 4 games, they did not lead at any point. And the turnover by Roberts leads to 3 points, and the Jags out to an early 3-0 lead. Roberts back deep to return the kick. Steve Berlon and Steve Tasker. I'm Andrew Catalan, our entire NFL on CBS crew. Saw Blake Bortles as we went to break getting looked at by the training staff. Steve Berlon had mentioned on the previous drive that it looked like Bortles got shaken up on the hit by Ansah.
That's when it happened. It was on the play before the fumble punt.
Myers with a big kick, and it will be a touchback. Let's go back to that hit, which Steve Berlon pointed out earlier in the quarter.
He lands right on that right elbow and shoulder. That's how quarterbacks hurt their shoulders a lot of times. And when he gets up and walks off the field, you can see him hobbling a little bit. And then that right when you get close to the sideline, he starts dropping that right shoulder. See that right arm hanging limp right there? That was the first thing I thought about, was that he hurt that shoulder on that play. And then the next play, he comes back. He gets sacked on that incomplete pass. Came over to the sideline, had a chance to get it looked at. It's definitely bothering him.
He's been incredibly durable since entering the starting lineup in September of 2014. He hasn't ever missed a snap. Chad Henne hasn't played in over 2 years. The backup quarterback is Washington's on the carry. And Washington gets a couple. Week 11 continues later today on CBS, and for some of you on Fox, and then tonight with Sunday Night Football on NBC. Tune in tomorrow for Monday Night Football on ESPN. Dwayne Washington picked up 2 on that first down play. He was inactive 4 games because of an ankle injury. His first game back was 2 weeks ago against Minnesota. Jim Bob Cooter, the offensive coordinator, said he didn't look that good in that Minnesota game. 10 carries, 26 yards. They want to try to get Washington back on track and jumpstart this run game for the Lions. On 2nd and 8, here comes the pressure, and Stafford is sacked.
Yeah, Paul Posluszny came right through.
He was the first one to get there.
And that pocket just collapsed. Watch it coming right at you. You see that as the offensive line just got a little bit, and also Dwayne Washington just stepped inside and then missed Posluszny going right by him and couldn't recover.
Jaguars with only 4 sacks in their last 5 games total coming in, but they're able to get one here in the first quarter. It puts Detroit in 3rd and 15 in what could be the final play of the first quarter. Stafford to Washington. Slips away from one, and then Jalen Ramsey with a big hit along the sideline. And once again, Detroit will send out its punter, Sam Martin.
As good as this play is, as many struggles as Jacksonville has had, they are very good against the pass. They're a top 5 team against the pass. They just don't get very many sacks. You saw an example of it there.
Start of the second quarter in Detroit. Matthew Stafford and the Lions offense with just 20 yards in the first quarter. That's been an issue. If you go back to the Minnesota game 2 weeks ago, they only had 5 yards in the third quarter and really were sluggish for most of that second half until the last drive that set up overtime. Martin boots it away, and Green creeps over to the 32. He buffs the punt but is able to recover and then steps out of bounds. Well, moments ago, Nick Scheider, a veteran of the Afghanistan and Iraq wars, proposed to his girlfriend here at Ford Field, Sheena. She said yes. Congratulations to the two of you. And the special event was made possible thanks in part to the Golden Future Foundation, Golden Tates Foundation, which is dedicated to enhancing the lives of our veterans, true American heroes. Golden's foundation provided the engagement ring. We met with Golden on Friday, and he said he was so pumped for that to occur here at Ford Field. So congratulations. Bortles all day, and that one is incomplete. He had Marquise Lee open underneath, instead tried to go a bit deeper to Allen Robinson.
I'm not exactly sure what we were looking at here, but Blake Bortles, you're going to see the throw that he makes here, very dangerous throw into heavy coverage. I'm not quite sure what he saw. Right here, TJ Yeldon is a guy that Andrew was talking about, wide open underneath. There's no reason to take that chance on first down in this situation.
It's Lee, and he runs out of bounds at the 40-yard line. Brings up third down for Jacksonville. Marquise Lee has been more involved in the offense this year. When we met with Blake Bortles last night, he said this is the most confidence he's had in Marquise Lee now in his third year out of USC. And as Bortles said, he's finally healthy. Injuries really hobbled Lee the first 2 years, but he's played in every game so far this season.
Yeah, it helps when you get a chance to string a lot of games together. You get into a rhythm, and the quarterback understands what you're doing when you're on the field, and everything gets better when you can stay on the field.
Third down at 4. Blitz coming, Bortles over the middle, and there he is. Marquise Lee into Detroit territory with a Jaguars first down, a gain of 12.
You know, I like the toughness out of Blake Bortles. I can tell you right now, I can tell by his body language that shoulder is bothering him. But he makes a nice throw, stands strong in that pocket. He's a big, tough guy, as you said, Andrew. He's a resilient guy, doesn't miss much. But you can see him hanging that arm down right there. The body language of the quarterback says a lot.
Ivory. Chris Ivory with some hard running. And then the ball comes out. Big hit and the Lions recover. Chris Ivory with his 4th fumble of the season. That's the most in the NFL. And the Jaguars turn it over. Glover Quinn with the big hit. And it was Antoine Williams who recovered. Turnovers have crushed the Jaguars this season, and Chris Ivory coughs up one here early in the second quarter.
Yeah, you look at it, you wonder, I mean, you get some momentum. You got a nice run there. This is, as you said, Chris Ivory's 4th fumble of the year. This is why the Jaguars are 2-7 and why they've struggled so much. -14 in turnover ratio coming into this game. It's unacceptable.
Lions still going backwards on offense as Washington is stacked up. The last 7 Detroit plays on offense, they've gained, well, they've not gained. They've put up -2 yards. And now just 17 yards of offense in the first half for Detroit.
And as we said in the open, this is not a Detroit Lions team that has been explosive on either side of the ball. Matthew Stafford has saved them with late game heroics, but they've got to keep their defense off the field.
Shot! Ready? Waiting.
Stafford play action over the middle and incomplete off the left hand of Eric Ebron, who was open on that play.
Yeah, Matthew Stafford's got to make this throw. He makes this throw 9 times out of 10. The ball came out on time. In fact, Ebron, I think it kind of surprised him. He only got the one hand on it. You know, you'd like to think that he might have been able to get that other hand up there as well, but I think the ball was on him a little bit quicker than he thought. Not a bad throw by Matthew Stafford.
Stafford now 1 of his last 5 passing, and 3rd and long again for the Lions, trying to avoid a 3rd straight 3 and out. 3 on the play clock. Stafford over the middle, and what a catch by Golden Tate. Right at midfield for a Lions first down. That was a heck of a grab.
It was. He caught it after the ball was by him. He lays out and catches it as it slides by him. What a nice whip throw. Yeah, you can see he reaches back for it and pulls it in and holds it up off the ground. It looks like it was going to squeeze out. He keeps it off the ground there, right there. He bobbles it, but it stays off the ground.
Gus Bradley has thrown the challenge flag again.
He thinks it might have hit the ball as it got past Tate.
Might hit the ground.
On the second look, I thought maybe it did, but on the first one, it didn't really occur to me that it might have touched the ground.
Yep. I think it did. The question is, did his hand get underneath?
Jacksonville is challenging the ruling on the field of a completed pass. Timeout.
Second challenge this half by Gus Bradley. He lost the first one, and we'll have the verdict on this one when we come back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Walmart. Find gifts, groceries, and more this season. McDonald's. I'm loving it. And by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field is reversed. The ball hit the ground and the pass is incomplete. It'll be 4th and 13 at the 33-yard line. Please reset the game clock to 12:34.
Well, as you can see here, it can hit the ground, but he's got to maintain control. And, of course, right there, that ball is on the ground. His hand is not under it. And as we saw from another angle, the ball also moves as he brings it up. You see there as it kind of moving around. He didn't have total control of that football. And that was a good challenge, obviously, by Gus Bradley.
It worked, although now he does not have a challenge left the remainder of the game. But it's
that
the
was a good one to win.
Yeah, no question. 3rd straight 3 and out for Detroit. Their offense still with just 17 yards in the first half.
But that is a question that's debatable, though. You said it was successful, but you'd like to, in a close game, have the luxury of another challenge, especially if it's on a non-scoring play. You know, it's very debatable.
Here's Martin with a line drive screamer that bounces, and look at the Lions cover this one all the way down close to the 5-yard line. A 61-yard punt by Sam Martin, who leads the NFL in net punting and is 2nd in average.
That helps right there.
Tomorrow on an all-new Late Show, Steven's got the star of TV's #1 news show, Bulls' Michael Weatherly. An all-new Colbert tomorrow on CBS. We met with Gus Bradley last night. He said, the turnovers obviously have really hurt Jacksonville, but also field position this year has been a big problem, and they are backed up to start this drive at the 6-yard line. Ivory at running back after fumbling on the last Jacksonville offensive play. And up the middle, Ivory gets a couple. Anthony Zettel on the tackle.
And I guarantee you, this Detroit Lions defense knows that Chris Ivory has a penchant for fumbling the football. It's his 4th fumble of the year. They are going to be attacking that football more so than a defense normally attacks.
If you're head coach, Steve Berline, do you put your running back in after he fumbles, or do you sit him down as a message?
I think if you're backed up in this situation, you might want to send him a message. You can't have a turnover down here.
I agree.
And your quarterback can't do it either.
I agree. If you fumble for me, you sit down for a series. I think it's a bad idea to give him another chance.
2nd down and 8. Bortles good protection and misfires. Ben Koyak was wide open over the middle. There's an injury update for Jacksonville. Patrick Omame, the left guard, is being evaluated for a foot injury. So Chris Reed has come into play, left guard for Jacksonville.
Yeah, Ben Koyak, I mean, totally just stopped on that route. He was going to come wide open and just stopped running as though he didn't understand what he was supposed to do. And Bortles had trusted him through the football where he should have been, and it turned into an incompletion. He really betrayed his quarterback on that.
He sure did.
Jacksonville 2 for 5 on third downs. It's third down and 8. Bortles, pressure coming, steps up and fires, and it's incomplete. Nevin Lawson got a hand on that one. The pass intended for Marquise Lee, and Jacksonville will punt.
It's a pretty heads-up play by Bortles trying to get rid of this. It looked as though he was going to tuck it and try and get it, then saw Lee come open right here, and Lawson does a great job, keeps his hand off the back and slaps that away. Well defended, pretty good route by Lee, just didn't get enough separation. Took a long time for that route to develop, and Bortles just couldn't fit it in. Great defense by Lawson.
Good pressure up front from Detroit as well on that play.
Nortman punting from his own end zone. Roberts to return from his own 46. Reverses field. Andre Roberts at the 40. Has blockers in front. Roberts at the 20. Roberts to the house. Touchdown Lions. 55 yards. He muffed the punt earlier in the half, makes up for it there with his second punt return for a touchdown this season.
Well, we said it in the open, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they let a 57-yarder go back last week, not for a touchdown, but for great field position. This time, the Lions make them pay big time for it. Jacksonville's special teams have just struggled mightily over the last month and a half, and this time, it cost them big time in the second half, in the second quarter of this game. They came up with a big play earlier when Roberts muffed a punt, and he gets one back on him.
Yeah, we highlighted it in the open. Jacksonville, 3 straight games had muffed a punt, and then last week they didn't muff one, but as Steve Tasker said, they allowed a 57-yard return. So their special teams have been under fire, and it proves costly again here today in Detroit.
Last week, Brad Nordman had a 12.7 net average because of that return. Today, it's -8 net punt yards for Jacksonville. That's an atrocity.
Now Matt Prater on for the extra point. He's missed one this season. And that one was deflected and blocked. No good. So the Lions not able to convert on the extra point. Matt Stafford, though, pumped up on the Roberts return. Back in Detroit, another look at the extra point. It looked like Derek Marks got his hand up there to block the extra point attempt by Matt Prater. I tell you what, this new rule with the extra points now in its second season of a 33-yard extra point has really added a lot of drama to the NFL, and it's 6-3 in favor of the Lions with 11:13 to go in the second quarter.
I love the rule. I think it really makes these decisions. You saw Mike Tomlin last week go for the 2-point conversion 4 times in a game.
Yeah.
And it makes coaches think about every little aspect. It's not a chip shot or a gimme by any stretch.
Marquise Lee to return the kick, but he will not get a chance at touchback. Now, during the timeout, Gus Bradley was not happy with the officials. He thought that Roberts called for a fair catch on that punt return.
And right there, I didn't see anything, no, and he did not call for it. Well, anytime a returner moves his hands around, it's got to be way above his head, and he's got to wave it back and forth. Sometimes an official will let a little bit less than that go, but I didn't see anything there at all that made me think that Andre Roberts wanted a fair catch that.
Gus Bradley's begging for one there.
Yeah.
He knows better than that. That was not even close.
Go!
Chris Ivory on first down for the Jaguars to the right side for 2. It's worth keeping an eye on Blake Bortles here, because ever since he went down on that hit, he has not looked right for Jacksonville.
You're 100% right. I mean, and this is something that it will get worse. Having been in this position, I've had the injuries to the shoulders. It gets worse as the game goes along. They'll have to address that at halftime.
He is 1 for his last 6 passing. And some of those incompletions have not even been close. This time to the right side, completes it to Marquise Lee. Good moves by Lee after the catch. And he's going to be very close to a Jacksonville first down.
Marquise Lee has really added something to this Jacksonville offense. He's a second-round pick, and as we said earlier, he struggled with injuries for 2 years, and now that he's starting to string games together, he's really showing why he was a second-round pick. I mean, he's got a lot of physical ability, and his ability after the catch is as big a part of that as anything.
It is a first down for the Jaguars as we approach 10 minutes to go in the first half. Bortles to Ivory out of the backfield, and Ivory can't get away from Nevin Lawson. Lawson with an active first half for Detroit.
And Detroit on first down doing what they do. They do not want to get beat over the top with big plays. That plagued them early in the season. They're playing a 2-deep shell, only playing 7 players in the box to stop the run game. This is an area where Jacksonville has to try and take advantage of that and get the run game going. Now it's second and long. It's an obvious passing situation.
Bortles out of the shotgun. Lofts one down the field for Robinson, who dives, and they're saying that it was incomplete. Robinson with a diving attempt, and now it'll be 3rd and 10.
Blake Bortles has seen that movie before last week on a try and throw away. It hit a guy's foot and stayed up. Right here, Robinson, if this ball hits the ground, that's a good play. But you can see here what happens as the defender thinks that ball outlet bounced hard twice. So it's a nice try, but you're not going to get that one.
Robinson hurt when you looks like as well.
Yeah, I think when you lay out as a wide receiver, sometimes you land wrong and you get the wind knocked out of you pretty easy, and it's hard to recover really quickly as it hurts.
Aurelius Ben has come in at wide receiver to replace Robinson as they check him out on the sideline. 3rd and 10. Bortles gets rid of it to Ivory at the 40, and Ivory is tackled short of the first down. It's Miles Killebrew again. He's made 3 tackles on 3rd downs for the Lions here in the first half.
And these are not light tackles. He's bringing the wood every single time on these hits. These are big boy tackles right there on a good running back. You know, you look at him. I mean,
well, he's 6'2", 222, rookie out of Utah State. That's why he's here, and that's why you take him. He's big and can make tackles like that, and that's a sign of a good defense is the first guy to the ball makes the tackle. Detroit's getting it done.
Played in Southern Utah. He was the highest drafted pick in school history in the 4th round, and that one takes a Jaguars roll all the way inside the 5. Down at the 3 by Corey Grant, a 54-yard punt.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by State Farm. Talk to an agent today at 800-STATE-FARM. And by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing.
Back in Detroit, the 3rd annual Art Rooney Sportsmanship Award honors NFL players who exemplify outstanding sportsmanship on the field. Each NFL team nominates 1 player for the award, and in December, a panel of NFL legends will select 8 finalists, and the winner will be announced at the NFL Honors Award Show on February 4th. For the Jaguars, Paul Posluszny has never been penalized for an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty in his entire career, and the Lions nominee is safety Glover Quinn, certainly one of the leaders for Jim Caldwell in Detroit.
We talk about those two guys.
Ball start. Offense number 60. After it's at the goal, still first down.
Interesting, too. Paul Posluszny with a sack today, and Glover Quinn with a forced fumble. Both those guys making an impact. Still being good sports about it.
Ready? Ready, hot! Ready!
The penalty on Graham Glasgow. It's 1st and 11. Stafford fires sideline, and it's complete to Anquan Bolden. Well, we talk about Paul Posluszny, and we mentioned earlier Telvin Smith was in Georgia with his family for the majority of the week. His brother was shot and killed last Sunday, Brian Moore, just 25 years old. And Telvin Smith and Paul Posluszny have a very close relationship, even though, as Gus Bradley told us, they're two very different people. And Paul Posluszny just texted Telvin Smith on Friday and said, hey, do you want me to come to your brother's funeral? And Telvin said it would really mean a lot if you could be there as the Lions keep this one on the ground. And Posluszny makes the tackle. So Paul Posluszny did not fly with Jacksonville and his teammates to Detroit yesterday. Instead, he went to Georgia and was with Telvin Smith for his brother's funeral. And then Smith and Posluszny late last night flew together on Shad Khan, the Jaguars owner, private plane here to Detroit. But as Gus Bradley told us, Posluszny was in a way honored that Telvin Smith wanted him to be there, and certainly it meant a lot to Telvin Smith. With 7:10 to go, second quarter. It's 3rd down and 4. 2 on the play clock. Stafford takes the snap. Pressure coming. Stafford steps up, and Stafford goes down. Malik Jackson wraps him up, and that's the 4th straight 3 and out by the Lions offense.
Yeah, really exotic look by the Jacksonville Jaguars. You see all kinds of people in this box in here, people running it, blitz coming off the edges, coming around, looping. Matthew Stafford was trying to get the protection set up before the snap, almost didn't get the snap off. Jacksonville right there did a great job of keeping the question marks in Matthew Stafford's head. That leads to chaos and usually success for the defense.
That's not something that Jacksonville does a lot of. Usually they line up and play their defense, and they play it very well, and they say, this is what we're going to do, beat us. On that time, they gave him a look he had to sort out.
Give the sack to Jackson, now 2.5 on the season. Rashad Green from his own 43, trying to get to the outside, but he cannot. And it's Don Carey who makes the special teams tackle. Carey signed a 1-year extension with the Lions earlier in the week. Coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, join JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, Coach Cower, all the latest NFL scores and highlights. It's all coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. Another injury update on the Jaguars sideline. Aaron Colvin, the defensive back, will not return today. He is out with a concussion. Jaguars, for the second time today, starting at their own 40 or better. Their average start is their own 37-yard line. And they have really struggled this year in terms of field position. Their average start has been the 26 in their first 9 games. 6:05 to go, second quarter. It's a 6-3 Lions lead. Detroit and an extra point blocked. Ivory on first down to the right side. And good containment by the Lions' run defense.
Yeah, again, same thing. You know, they're challenging the Jacksonville Jaguars to run the football. Terrell Austin, the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, told us, you know, I would prefer to try and stop the run, as all defensive coordinators would, with just 7 people in there. They're having success right now. Jacksonville is not able to get yards running the ball. It's going to be a long day. All the pressure goes back on to Blake Bortles.
Jaguars averaging just 3.2 yards per carry. It's a screen to Ivory. Ivory's got some room. Chris Ivory has a first down. And knocked out at the 30-yard line. A 22-yard pickup for Chris Ivory in the Jaguars offense. And that's their longest play of the day.
Little misdirection as Blake Bortles is going to play fake, look out to his right, and then just flick it back to the left. Great job out front. And of course, Ivory making the most out of it. You'll see Chris Reed coming out, turning the corner in the game because of the injury and doing a nice job.
Omame is still out at left guard. First down and 10. Bortles taking a shot for Allen Robinson, and that's incomplete. Good coverage on the play by Darius Slay, who was stride for stride with Robinson.
Yeah, that pass never had a chance. Bortles let it go quick. It looked like he decided he was going to try that before the ball was even snapped. And it wasn't there from the get-go.
Yeah, there was no win on the outside by the wide receiver. And I think Bortles was feeling a little pressure. He had to make a quick call.
Second down and 10. Ivory. And he's tripped up from behind. Looked like Ziggy Ansah got a hand on Ivory's foot, and it will be third down for the Jaguars. Inside 5 to go in the first half.
Yeah, Ziggy Ansah, one of the most intriguing guys for this Detroit defense. He has struggled with injuries. We said the bye week, and it used to be, and you and I are old enough to remember when the bye week first started. They used to say, "Way is a good time for the bye week," and we found out every week is a good week for the bye week. Guys like Ziggy Ansah get a multitude of benefits from taking a week off, not having to play a game, and you can see it today. He's all over the field against Jacksonville.
Third down and 8. Bortles with pressure coming, dumps it down to Ivory. He's got the first down. Ivory to the 15-yard line as Bortles just got rid of that one in time. A gain of 14.
And he's really hurting too. He took a shot there, and that was Chris Ivory's fault. Chris Ivory should have been stepping up and picking up that looper and then turn around. You got to slow him down, and then it's a middle screen inside. You can't let a guy have a free run at your quarterback, especially on a big defensive end like Ziggy Ansah.
Ivory has 43 yards receiving today. Coming into the game, he only had 31 yards receiving for the entire season. And he gets the call again. Ivory inside the 10-yard line. We met with offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett of the Jaguars last night, and he said that he wanted Ivory to get about 20 carries today, and between the receptions and the carries so far, Ivory already has 12 touches in the first half.
Bortles took a shot on this one too. Look at Kerry Hyder came in and drilled him after he gave the ball up to Chris Ivory. I think Detroit knows he's struggling a little bit, and they thought that might have been a read option. Kerry Hyder can hit the quarterback if he thinks he's got the ball.
If you're faking having the ball, they're not going to fake hitting you.
Bortles on the run, nowhere to go, and he throws it away, and a flag comes in. Pressure came from the strong safety Tavon Wilson, but there's a flag down at the goal line.
Prior to the pass, holding, defense number 23. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
The hold on Darius Slay gives Jacksonville an automatic first down. It's first and goal.
Right there, and he's going to, if you get him.
No doubt. No doubt about it. He impeded him from getting across the field, grabbed him. Now this Detroit Lions defense, the 30th ranked red zone defense in the NFL, they struggle enough as it is. They've been better lately. They had given up 17 touchdown passes in weeks 1 through 6, only 3 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks, but you give Jacksonville a new set of downs, that's tough.
Julius Thomas right there. Always a red zone threat.
Thomas with 3 red zone touchdown catches this season. Robinson has 5. Bortles with pressure coming, gets rid of it, and it's caught for the touchdown. And it's the Michigan native, Allen Robinson. He has 6 touchdowns this season, all 6 in the red zone.
You can't say enough about the job that Blake Bortles is doing too. We've documented how beat up he is right now. He's hurting. Look at him take a shot again. Haloti Ngata is a big man coming untouched. Knocked him into the ground again, but Bortles delivers his quick strike to Allen Robinson. What a great play by the young quarterback. Finished off by the young wide receiver. Jacksonville needed that.
Yeah, they brought Julius Thomas in for extra protection, then slid the protection towards him and left Ngata uncovered coming right up the gut. Bortles saw it, and that was his guy. Wow, that was...
I don't think that was supposed to be Bortles' guy. Nose guard right up the middle.
Yeah, I think that was a mistake.
Extra point by Myers is no good.
Wow.
So Prater had an extra point blocked, and that's the first extra point miss this season by Jason Myers. Allen Robinson, though, gives the Jaguars the lead. Allen Robinson led the NFL last year in red zone touchdowns with 12. He's got 6 this season, and Jacksonville now on top by 3.
In fact, that is Allen Robinson's 20th touchdown since the beginning of 2015. Coming into the game, he was tied for first in the NFL for most touchdowns scored over the last 2 years. Right there, another one to add to that total.
Yeah, tied with Doug Baldwin of Seattle. So now Robinson pulls ahead with Seattle playing later today against the Eagles on CBS. But Myers, who did miss 7 extra points last season, this is for the first time this year. Played his college ball at Marist, which is where our broadcast associate Brian Marr went to college. I think I heard the screams from the truck as Brian saw his fellow Red Fox. Yes, it's the Marist Red Foxes. Missed the extra point. It's a touchback. And Detroit will start at the 25-yard line. Don't forget, coming up on the Verizon halftime report, our crew back in New York will have all the latest scores and highlights all coming up on the Verizon halftime report. So now Detroit back on offense. Just 20 yards of offense in the first half. 2 yards rushing and 18 through the air.
Only 36 yards total, as you documented earlier, Andrew, in the second half against the Vikings 2 weeks ago prior to their last 2 drives. But this offense is not in sync right now for whatever reason. They've got to get it going.
Good protection for Stafford, who completes it on first down to Riddick. And Riddick gets away from Jacksonville's D and takes it all the way up to the 39-yard line. A gain of 14 and the Detroit first down. That's their longest play of the game.
And I think this is a perfect spot, even though it's a lot of time left with 2:25 and counting. Perfect spot for Detroit to get a little spark, get a first down, and go no huddle.
Stafford zips one to Golden Tate. He slips a tackle, and Golden Tate into Jacksonville territory. So in the last 2 plays, the Lions picked up more yards than they did in the entire first half so far.
And I think it's interesting that Jim Bob Cooter elected to go no huddle. I think that's a thing they may see more of in the second half. When your offense is struggling, give them a chance to get going and keep it going.
2 minutes to go first half. Lions have all 3 timeouts. As you take a look at the first half stats so far, not pretty for the Lions. Just 46 yards of offense. However, in the last 2 minutes of halves this year, first and second halves, they've scored 56 points. Only the Steelers have scored more with 58. So this is a time in the half where the Lions, a lot of times using that no huddle, have been very successful. From midfield, first down and 10. Pressure coming. Stafford gets rid of it to Riddick. Has some blockers to the 45. Cuts it back and then out of bounds with a first down.
Prior to that play, Andrew, I was going to say this would be a good time to start getting Theo Riddick more involved. He had the big catch right before the 2-minute drill here. A little screen pass. No running back has been more productive in the NFL in terms of receptions and yards in the NFL than Theo Riddick the last 2 years. 115 catches, 970 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So he is a definite threat in the passing game every single week for Matthew Stafford.
First 18 plays on offense, the Lions gained 20 yards. In their last 3, they've picked up 38 yards, all the way down to the Jacksonville 37-yard line. Stafford looking for Jones, and it's incomplete. Coverage on the play by Devon House. And House has seldom used the last 4 games, but because of the concussion to Aaron Colvin, House is out there for Jacksonville.
And I guarantee you that's why that ball was going at Marvin Jones. They wanted to see what House had, in terms of coverage ability up the field. Right there, did a super job.
Last 3 games, House has only played 3 snaps on defense. Now he's covering Golden Tate. Things can change quickly in the NFL. Second down and 10. Stafford over the middle. Wide open is Bolden. And he's tackled by Paul Posluszny. It will be 3rd and short for the Lions.
Yeah, we spoke about how well the Lions are playing here in this drive now, going no huddle. There are a lot of reasons why they don't go to it a lot. A lot of it has to do with the ability of their team to pick it up and feel comfortable with it. They got a very young offensive line, and that's been a factor.
Stafford, and that one is caught by Jones. Inside the 15, Prince Amukamara on the coverage, a gain of 15.
I smile whenever I see Matthew Stafford make a throw like this We'll get a chance to look at it at some point. Hopefully, we don't have time right now. Well, they're huddling up. That's good. We need to go back and look at it. But the flick, the little flick as he's falling backwards, there are very few, if any, other quarterbacks in the league that can make that throw with that velocity.
First catch by Marvin Jones today. Stafford is 5 out of 6 on the drive. 45 seconds to go. Stafford dumps it down. It's Riddick at the 10, and then Buzz Lusney with a big hit at the 9-yard line. And now Jim Caldwell has called his first time out of the half with 36 seconds remaining.
That's a perfect spot for it. But you watch this, you go back, Steve Berline, you're right, and we go back to look at this flick on the completion to Jones. Watch as he throws this, kind of moving almost backwards. He just flicks it. And
but that was a 30-yard throw down the middle of the field.
Looks like he was throwing at the ball boy.
He did it
now
there.
That right there is the second one. That's not the Jones completion. That's the next one, and he kind of has the same delivery. Can you believe it, though? And this is true. I remember when he came out, that was a knock on him. They said, well, he's got a kind of a sidearm funky delivery, and all these scouts, they get all wrapped up in the tech, and quarterbacks do it all the time. But if you've got a throwing motion that allows you to do that, just do it. Just
rip
throw it. Yeah, just rip it. And Stafford is making a great career doing it.
Since the start of last year, Matthew Stafford has thrown 39 red zone touchdowns and no interceptions. This one to Riddick is incomplete.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is tied with him with 39 red zone touchdown passes. Well, the difference is, as you said, that Stafford 0 interceptions, and Aaron Rodgers has thrown 4. But right here now in the red zone, you look at the threats for Detroit. You got Anquan Bolden, who's always a threat, and you got Theo Riddick again. 7 red zone receptions, 4 of them have gone for touchdowns on the season.
Well, they got 5 guys with 30-plus catches, and don't forget Eric Ebron lined up right here.
It's 3rd down and 5. Lions have to get to the 4-yard line to move the chains. Stafford chased by Odrick, steps up, takes a big hit, lost his helmet. Whoa, he is short of a first down. That was a big-time hit on the quarterback, Stafford.
I'm happy to see him up. That is not a hit you want Matthew Stafford taken on any kind of a frequency basis. I mean, he puts his head down.
And Derek Marks met him head-on. Fowler helped from behind.
Well, you can understand Marks, a defensive tackle, way back in coverage. They're trying to cross up Stafford's read.
30-second timeout.
Stafford obviously not affected. Immediately knowing the situation, having to get up and make that timeout call. That's good. That's a good indicator that he's doesn't have any cobwebs up there right now.
Little surprised that the Lions wouldn't let more time run down before calling that timeout. Now they're going to give Jacksonville, if they decide, a chance. Again, not much time left, but they could have taken the time down a little bit more. It was a Detroit timeout. They only had 1 remaining.
Jacksonville probably would have called a timeout, I would think, in that situation. You never know what will happen on a kickoff return.
And now Prater has come out to attempt the field goal, but the officials are huddling up with Jim Caldwell on the Detroit sideline.
Yeah, and see how he's probably saying, well, I didn't want the timeout, and they're probably telling him, well, your quarterback called for it.
Matthew Stafford called the timeout, not Caldwell.
Very good point, Steve Tasker. You're all over it. As soon as he made that indicator with the timeout, that's calling the timeout.
Well, Stafford's just doing it because he's trying to compete and save time. He gets wrapped up in the moment, doesn't realize that if you don't get the first down, you need the time to run out.
Stafford was 6 of 7 on that drive. This is a 27-yard attempt for Prater. And it's good as Jalen Ramsey hurdled over the line in an attempt to block it. So with 19 seconds left, we are tied at 9 here at Ford Field. Stafford 12 of 19 for 94 yards in the first half. Another look as Ramsey came up and over.
And this is right here. You'll see Stafford right there. That's the timeout signal right there. And he's just trying to compete and react. And he, you know,
and it wasn't truly a signal. He was kind of indecisive. He never really.
It almost looked like he said, "Oh, do I really want that?" And it was too late by that time.
Look at the quarterback comparison. Bortles 12 out of 19 with 1 touchdown and no interceptions. Jaguars will get the ball back with 2 timeouts.
And should be pointed out that this has been a very gutsy effort by Blake Bortles, the way he's hung in there this first half. It'll be interesting to see how he comes out sitting and cooling down at halftime. They'll have to address it somehow.
But we suspect that he's hurt more than he's letting on, and we'll have to wait until probably after the game to see it. He may get some treatment at halftime. We'll have to wait and see. But you know, as a quarterback, you're looking at him and you're thinking, man, he's gutting it out.
Well, still another half to go, but another close game for the Detroit Lions, as we mentioned earlier. First team in NFL history to have their first 9 games all decided by 7 points or less. A touchback. So we'll see if Jacksonville decides to throw the ball or not. And actually, it's Chad Henne who comes out onto the field.
Well, there you go. That might be the answer right there.
Yep.
Blake Bortles went to the locker room.
And I would imagine Henne will probably just take a knee here in this situation. But they wanted to get Bortles that extra time. There are different ways you can address. If they can locate exactly where that pain is, there are different ways they can address it in a shoulder type of an injury.
This is the first time Henne's played in over 2 years since he was removed at halftime against the Colts for Blake Bortles. Bortles hasn't come out of a game since. And Chad Henne with a smile as he walks off the field. He's back in the game. Chad Henne takes a knee, and it's halftime here in Detroit. We'll be back with the Verizon Halftime Report after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Halftime in Detroit, and the Jaguars and Lions all tied at 9. Back in the booth with Steve Berline and Steve Tasker. I'm Andrew Catalon. The Jaguars just told us that Blake Bortles was evaluated for a right shoulder injury late in the first half when he left the field, but he will be okay and will start the second half. But that big hit certainly gave Bortles some problems with his throws in the first half.
Yeah, we talked about it consistently throughout the first half. Definitely a significant injury from the standpoint of it's your starting quarterback. It is affecting the way he's throwing the football. There you see, that's when it happened. And then several throws throughout the rest of the first half. Not sure if it was affected by the shoulder, but you could see him protecting himself, and his body language was stating that his shoulder was bothering him. To me, looking at it from a quarterback's perspective, and it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure they have different ways of addressing it at halftime. We'll see if he can come out and be more effective the second half.
And credit the Jaguars defense. They played a solid first half, but Steve Tasker, how did the Lions get going on offense?
I think one thing they got to do is more no huddle. I think they were very effective. They doubled their yardage output in the first half just on that last drive by going no huddle and getting some pace up. I think it takes Jacksonville out of the exotic looks that they've thrown a little bit at Detroit. Jacksonville doesn't do that much of it. They brought it out for this game, and it's given Matt Stafford a little bit of problems. When they go no huddle, that takes them out of that, and it simplifies the defense for Stafford. That's what they've got to do.
Well, let's take a look at the first half fresh start. It's presented by Febreze, and it was Blake Bortles over the middle to Allen Robinson for the Jaguars' only touchdown of the opening half. Remember, Detroit won the toss and elected to receive, so Jacksonville will get the second half kickoff and start with the ball to begin the second half of plays. The Jaguars try to stop a 4-game losing streak. Meanwhile, Detroit tied for first place in the NFC North with Minnesota, the team they host just a few days from now on Thanksgiving Day here on CBS. Stafford 12 of 19 for 94 yards in the first half. Each team missed an extra point. Prater's kick was blocked, and Myers just missed for Jacksonville. We saw during the Verizon halftime report all of the missed extra points in the NFL today. Been a number of them. Marquise Lee is back deep to receive the kick from the punter, Sam Martin. Underway in the second half at Ford Field. And it will be a touchback. Jacksonville will start at the 25-yard line as we take a look at the first half numbers.
Yeah, not a lot to be proud of offensively either team. Both defenses will definitely take the output, or lack of output, so to speak. One turnover each way. You know, the Jaguars have had possession of the ball a lot longer, but the end result is not much difference offensive. Both these offenses struggling.
TJ Yeldon, as we told you in the first half, left with an ankle injury and has not returned for the Jaguars. So it's Ivory again to start this drive, and Ivory gets to the 28-yard line. We even saw Denard Robinson come in for a play in the first half because Yeldon not able to go as the backup right now. We'll keep an eye out for Yeldon in the second half. Yeldon just 4 carries for 16 yards. There's Denard Robinson, who only has 4 carries the entire season for Jacksonville. Second down and 7. Bortles pump fakes looking for Allen Hurns, and he dropped it. Nevin Lawson may have got a hand on that one, but Hurns was wide open.
That was not a good throw by Blake Bortles. He pump faked, they had it set up, they got the corner to fight, and Hurns was open over the top. But Bortles did not get the ball up and over. There's a big hole right there. That ball was tipped, I think, by Lawson, but it was severely underthrown. And I don't know, again, whether that's related to the shoulder or not, but that play was called for a purpose. He couldn't make the throw.
First time today that Allen Hurns has been targeted. And the misfire leads to 3rd and 7. Bortles looking for Lee. It's popped up, it's picked off. Raphael Bush on the interception. And Bush still going down the sideline. Bush is in. Pick 6. Touchdown, Lions.
A really nice defense again on the play by Nevin Lawson. He's the one that contested it. It leads to the interception by Raphael Bush. That is the 10th pick 6 of Blake Bortles' career. Not the way Gus Bradley wanted to start off this second half. Not much Marquise Lee can do about that. The ball a little bit high. Nevin Lawson challenged it. If Blake Bortles puts that on his body, he can make that catch.
That's right. It's not a very bad throw, but it is a bad throw. He's got to get that down into the body, particularly when the defender is right behind the receiver. Bortles, that ball sails on him, and you think about whatever he had done at halftime, and that shoulder is still continuing to be a concern if I'm Gus Bradley, but that was a bad throw.
Prater's extra point is good. It's the 2nd straight week that Blake Bortles has thrown a pick 6. This time it's Raphael Bush with the touchdown. No quarterback has thrown more pick 6s since 2014 than Blake Bortles. That's his 10th. Last week it came on the opening drive of the game. This time it comes on the opening drive of the second half. Lions, who needs their offense? They have a punt return for a touchdown and now an interception return for a touchdown. In fact, the Lions have more return yards than they have yards from scrimmage, and they lead by 7 as Martin kicks it away. Bounces at the 8, off the hands of Marquise Lee, and a touchback. Jacksonville will start at the 25-yard line. Last week against Houston, it was Kareem Jackson on the opening drive of the game. Bad pass by Bortles. Jackson took it back for a touchdown. Again, the Jaguars playing from behind. That was a big factor in last week's loss. And now here, opening drive of the half, Bush takes it all the way back.
It's one of the bad scenes for an offense. When you throw a pick 6, you got to get a kickoff and come right back out. And it's one of the few situations where an NFL defense can't wait to get on the field.
Bortles going back to the air, lofts one, and it's nearly intercepted. A flag is down. It was right to Darius Slay, even though it was intended for Allen Robinson.
Heavy pressure on Bortles that time as well.
Pass interference. Defense number 23. Spot foul. Automatic first down.
Well, that ball came out of Bortles' hand and it flopped all the way there. We'll see if it got tipped at the line. But it had almost no spiral on it. He got hit low.
He got hit low. The pass wasn't affected, but look at that wobbler coming out of there. Yeah, you can see, you know, we of course are speculating here, but I can't help but think this is all related to the shoulder struggles, the pain he's having in that shoulder right now.
And you can tell, I mean, this Detroit defense is fired up right now. They know they're all over this Jacksonville offense, even though they got that penalty.
Flag is down as Ivory takes it across the 45. That was a very questionable call. The Lions fans here did not like that pass interference on Slay.
Well, they're not going to like
Offside.
this one either.
Defense number 96. Lined up in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
Yeah, it wasn't even close. Yes, Charles had his head all the way over the ball. And look at, this is him up here. The ball's down here. He's past the ball.
What do you think of the pass interference call, though?
Yeah, I didn't like it at all.
First down and 5. Ivory up the middle, head of steam into Detroit territory, and a late flag comes in. Ivory tackled just short of the first down mark.
Holding. Offense number 60. 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
That's on A.J. Cann. Meanwhile, injury updates for Jacksonville. They have downgraded 3 players on offense. T.J. Yeldon, Patrick Omame, and Mercedes Lewis are all out for the rest of the game. That's in addition to Aaron Colvin on defense, who was ruled out earlier because of a concussion. So it's Denard Robinson at running back to give Ivory a breather, and Robinson actually now lined up as a receiver at the top of your screen. Bortles out of the shotgun, looking for Denard Robinson. He's got it. And Robinson met by Bush at the 40-yard line. Fans here in Detroit know Denard Robinson well. Played his college ball just up the road at Ann Arbor from Michigan. Started 35 games as a quarterback in college, and now in his 4th year with the Jaguars has really seen his playing time reduced to mostly special teams. But because of the injury to Yeldon, Robinson is out there. That was just his 2nd catch of the season. He picked up 3. It's 2nd and 12. Bortles completes it to Hearns, who is crushed by Tavon Wilson. Good job by Hearns to hold on to that football. It'll bring up 3rd down and short.
Super job by Hearns to hang on to that football. He's a guy that has kind of been disappearing from the passing attack for Jacksonville the last couple of weeks. And a guy like that, he'll take the hit. Anything to get back involved in the game plan.
First catch today for Allen Hearns. It brings up 3rd down and 2. And that pass is caught by Thomas for a first down. Shoved out by Nevin Lawson. Julius Thomas picks up 9 yards and gives Jacksonville a fresh set of downs.
And that's Thomas's first catch of the day as well. You know, I like what Nathaniel Hackett is doing here, trying to get playmakers involved, try to find ways to see if you can jumpstart this offense.
Well, he's also trying to get the ball out of Blake Bortles' hands because he doesn't want him taking any more hits in the pocket. So he's obviously calling for some quick releases to get that ball out of Bortles' hands before the pressure can get to him again.
We saw Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator, there on the Jacksonville sideline as Ivory's back in the game. Up and in at the 40-yard line. That was Quandre Diggs on the tackle. We go back to New York, an NFL Today update. Here's JB.
Giants take the lead.
Yeah, they take the lead, set up by a big play to Victor Cruz. This one goes down the middle to Sterling Shepard from Eli Manning for the touchdown. The extra point by Robbie Gould. He missed his second extra point of the day. 22-16, Giants are up.
Guess who the Bears' all-time leading scorer is? That's right, Robbie Gould. Back out to Andrew Catalan.
Wow, the wind at MetLife Stadium wreaking havoc today on these extra points. Another missed one. Thank you, guys, as Denard Robinson takes it up the middle and across the 35-yard line. Just the 5th carry this year for Denard Robinson.
But I have always loved this guy, Denard Robinson. You never know when you're going to get your number called. He didn't know T.J. Yeldon was going to go down and the situation was going to play itself out, but he is ready to play today, stepping up, knowing exactly what he's supposed to do and what he's going to be counted on for. That's impressive.
It's 3rd down and 2. Jacksonville 4 for 10, converting on 3rd down today. Play action. Bortles, the screen to Thomas. Can he get away? No! Great tackle by Bush. Bush had the pick 6, and now he stops Thomas short of a 1st down. And Jason Myers, the kicker, will come out to attempt a field goal.
This is just what Jacksonville wanted. They wanted Julius Thomas one-on-one, and Raphael Bush absolutely makes a great play. Knifes in, makes a great tackle, and that's one of the things I've noticed about this Detroit defense today. The first guy in has made the tackle. There's been very few yards after catch, and that's been the difference for this defense of the Detroit Lions.
52-yard attempt by Myers, and that one is good. Myers now 3 for 6 from beyond 50 yards this year, and we've got a 4-point game in Detroit.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest. Yes to low fares with nothing to hide. That's transparency. Voya Financial, changing the way you think of retirement. And by Honda. Hurry in for great deals during Happy Honda Days.
Good crowd today at Ford Field as the Jaguars just marched 7 plays and 41 yards, led to a 52-yard field goal by Jason Myers. And with 9:20 to go 3rd quarter, it's a 16-12 Lions lead. Steve Berline and Steve Tasker, I'm Andrew Catalan, our entire NFL on CBS crew. And this will be a touchback. Detroit will have it at the 25-yard line. When we come back, you're watching the NFL on CBS. Make the SEC on CBS part of your holiday festivities. Friday, the Razorbacks throw down with the Tigers, and Saturday, it's the Iron Bowl between Auburn and #1 Alabama, all right here on CBS Sports. Lions have had 6 possessions, and 4 have resulted in 3 and outs. They've got the ball here 1st and 10 at their own 25-yard line, leading by 4. Dwayne Washington at running back, and he gets the call on 1st down. Washington gets to the 29-yard line. He picks up 4. The Lions have only had 3 rushing yards the whole game until that. But who needs their offense? They're getting it done in the return game. The punt return by Andre Roberts, the touchdown in the 1st half, and then here to start the 3rd quarter, the pick 6 by Bush.
I'll tell you who needs their offense. The Lions need their offense. If they want to win this NFC North, they got to start stepping up a little bit, doing their part.
Washington out of the backfield, and Telvin Smith makes the tackle, but not before Dwayne Washington picks up a 1st down.
I like the fact that the Lions are starting out in this up-tempo again, kind of the no-huddle, as Steve Tasker referred to. They've been very efficient. Matthew Stafford always very dangerous in this kind of scenario.
Washington is crunched. Lusney up there to lead the charge. A loss of 2 on the play, and Avery Jones also in on the tackle for Jacksonville.
Well, the offensive line just decides they're not going to block anybody. The Jacksonville Jaguars have a stunt on that completely confuses the offensive line on that little run play, and they stuffed it, the line of scrimmage.
2nd and 12. Stafford to Bolden. Lusney and Smith combine on the tackle for Jacksonville. It's 3rd down from the 40-yard line. And now a injured Jaguar behind the play. That is Jared Odrick, who's battled injuries throughout the year, down on the ground. He's missed 4 games this season because of elbow, quad, and ankle injuries. He collided with Malik Jackson, his teammate.
And Malik Jackson stayed down for a moment as well, as you see both of them. Malik Jackson climbed to his feet. Odrick, not so much.
That ankle looks like.
Yeah.
Odrick is up. Second year with the Jaguars after coming over from the Miami Dolphins.
You know, that jailbreak on the play before, Steve, on that running play was kind of confirming what you had said earlier about the reason that this Lions team is not comfortable going with the no huddle up tempo kind of is because the offensive linemen up front, the younger players up there with Graham Glasgow and Taylor Decker, you know, these guys are younger players that they have to know their assignments, be able to react and adjust quickly. Complete jailbreak, you're going to get a running back hurt or a quarterback.
Derek Marks has come in along with Dante Fowler for this 3rd down and 6 as Odrick goes off to the Jaguars bench. Lions just 2 for 8 on 3rd downs as Riddick joins Stafford with 15 on the play clock. Plenty of time as Stafford calls out signals. 7:20 to go 3rd quarter. Stafford incomplete, looking for Anquan Bolden. It was Peyton Thompson on the coverage. Second-year man out of San Jose State getting a little extra run with Aaron Colvin out with a concussion.
It's one of the things about this Jacksonville team that's really puzzling. They don't really sack the quarterback very much, and they're a top 5 pass defense in the National Football League. And there you see an example of it. I mean, they get the incompletion. Everybody was covered up. It took a perfect throw to get it in there, and you just can't execute it, particularly when they get you to 3rd and 6 or 7.
Punt number 6 for Sam Martin today. It's Green with a fair catch at the 12. 7:06 to go 3rd quarter. Lions lead it by 4.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Outback Steakhouse, Bloomin' Great, and by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Back in Detroit with NFL Mobile. Stream live local Sunday afternoon primetime games and NFL Red Zone right on your mobile device. Learn more at NFL.com/mobile. They're calling it a foot injury for Jared Odrick. His return is questionable. Jaguars had a number of injuries today. They'll start this drive at their own 13-yard line with Chris Ivory on the ground, and Ivory puts his head down to cross the 15-yard line. It'll be 2nd down with 7 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. Look at the numbers for the quarterbacks. Blake Bortles playing with that right shoulder that's been nicked up. 16 of 25 for 131 yards. He threw 49 passes last week in the loss to Houston, and this season he averages 42 pass attempts per game. Jaguars want that number to go down. Play action, he'll throw another. Thought about a deep shot, instead checks down to Ivory. Ivory at the 25. He's got a Jacksonville 1st down. Wilson on the stop for Detroit.
That was a nice pump fake by Bortles. It looked like he did want to take the deep one, and that was a great call off and take the small short one. He's trying to get it out there to Hearns, and they double covered him, sloughed off, which left Ivory open. Great read at the last moment right there. He was going to go deep, and the Lions had sloughed off and closed it off at the last moment. Great read, great throw.
And Ivory across the 30. Tackle made by Jonathan Banks, who's playing in his 1st game as a Lion after coming over in a trade from Tampa Bay. This is the 3rd game that Nathaniel Hackett has been the offensive coordinator for the Jaguars. Jacksonville fired Greg Olson after the loss in Tennessee. And we met with Gus Bradley last night. He said that he's seen the demeanor of the offense night and day is what he said compared to the first 7 games, and now with 2 with Hackett as the offensive coordinator. They've improved on third downs. They're getting a lot more yards per game with Hackett, and there just seems to be more of a confidence about this Jaguars offense. And why not? As Ivory has plenty of room to run into Detroit territory for a gain of 22.
Well, all of it relates, Andrew, to the run game. The first down, and both these, they come out this drive. The first run of the series, Chris Ivory picks up 3 or 4 yards, keeps him in a second desirable. Blake Bortles checks it down on the second play because he doesn't have to force it down the field. Then the first run of this next set of downs here, a nice little sweep, picking up 5 yards. 2nd and 5 now. Blake Bortles again takes a check down. It's a good situation for Blake Bortles to really thrive.
Denard Robinson giving Ivory a breather, and he takes it to the 42-yard line. And, you know, we asked Nathaniel Hackett, is the offense different than when Greg Olsen is here? And both him and Bortles said, no, it's pretty much the same offense. But as Blake said, it's a new perspective on our offense. It's almost like they hit the reset button a little bit. They can kind of take a step back. They took some plays out that Bortles didn't like. But for the most part, it's the same offense. With Hackett, he's been able to find what's really working well for Bortles. Second down and 5. Blitz coming. Handoff to Robinson again. And Denard Robinson with a Jacksonville first down.
Well, the only thing they really said that was different now with this offense is you're seeing them now for the first time putting together a really impressive drive. They simplified things. The verbiage is a little less. The thought process is a little less. And as you know, Steve Berline, you played quarterback. Sometimes just hearing it from a different voice makes all the difference.
No doubt.
Seventh play of the drive. First down and 10 with 3:20 to go, third quarter. Bortles looking deep for Marquise Lee. He made the catch. Should he get the feet in? Yes! First and goal for Jacksonville.
That was a nice tap dance by Marquise Lee. If those feet indeed were in, it looked like from up here in our box they were. We're going to get a good look at it right here. Coming right into your TV set, right into your living room. 1-2.
Yes.
Boy, what a great job.
A 29-yard gain.
Yeah, people have wondered where Alan Hearns went in this offense, and I think one reason is because Marquise Lee has emerged. He's getting more looks and more attention from Blake Bortles and the offensive coordinator.
First and goal. And it's Ivory stacked up. Remember, in the game 2 weeks ago in Minnesota, Detroit had a big 4th and inches stop at the 5-yard line with 8 minutes to go in the 4th. That was a big part of their comeback win against the Vikings. Trying to hold Jacksonville to a field goal here late in the third quarter.
Well, back to Nathaniel Hackett real quick. He said his priorities were very simple too. 1, what is Blake Bortles comfortable with? 2, we want to run the ball better. And those are 2 things that we're seeing a little bit of an illustration here. And the success is paying off.
Second and goal. Bortles in the shotgun. Ivory is next to him. Bortles looking to throw. End zone for Lee. And Marquise Lee has it for a touchdown. First touchdown this season for Marquise Lee. And the Jaguars regain the lead.
Wow, that is a big-time play in the red zone. Marquise Lee went up and just forced this pass away from Slay. Look at this, right over the top. Slay's got it defended.
Boy,
that was a great catch. We'll see if his heel comes down. Oh, I don't know. It looked like it came down on the line. They'll review this.
Yeah.
His toes can come down, but if his heel comes down out of bounds, it counts out of bounds. If his toes are facing the other way and he drags it.
The toe hit first, though, I believe.
It doesn't matter. If his heel comes down, it's an out-of-bounds play, even if his toe touches first, and they're going to let it stand.
All scoring plays reviewed. It's been confirmed in replay. It is a touchdown, and now Myers for the extra point. He missed one earlier. This one is good. Marquise Lee with his first touchdown since late December of last year at New Orleans. He's really come on for Jacksonville, and the Jaguars back in front. A 9-play, 87-yard drive for Jacksonville. Marquise Lee and Chris Ivory accounted for 73 of the 87 yards on that drive, culminated by the touchdown, first of the season for Marquise Lee.
In my opinion, it was the running game and keeping Blake Bortles in this offense in desirable situations, second and third down, and very manageable.
Another touchback by Jason Myers as we go back to the touchdown pass from Bortles to Lee.
You can see Slay's got his arm in there. That is just an absolutely well-executed pass and catch, and does keep his foot in bounds, rolls over, finishes the process, and spins the ball on the ground.
He had no doubt he was in.
Oh, yeah.
He knew he was in.
You can feel it. Believe me, you can feel it. I mean, I had maybe like one touchdown in my career. I remember it. You knew you were in bounds. It's a great feeling. It's hard not to spin the ball when you get up.
7 possessions for Detroit today. They had 6 punts so far. On 1st and 10, Washington gets a couple. Tuesday on CBS, he's not a lawyer, but he knows how to win the case. Michael Weatherly stars in TV's #1 news show, Bull. New episode Tuesday after NCIS. You know, we met with Jim Caldwell on the Lions on Friday, and Caldwell, when talking about the Jacksonville offense, said, you know who I really like is Marquise Lee. He's got a lot of guts. He's been through a lot in his life. We brought him in for a pre-draft visit. I was very impressed and disappointed to see that we didn't get him. And well, Caldwell, unfortunately for him, sees Marquise Lee scores a touchdown for Jacksonville. 90 seconds to go in the third quarter. Stafford to a wide open Andre Roberts. Roberts to the Jacksonville 28-yard line. A 45-yard gain.
That was an absolute rifle shot from one of the best arms in the NFL right there. Jonathan Cyprien, number 37, the safety didn't think that ball would be able to get in there. That ball was in there easily from Matthew Stafford. That was the same kind of throw that Bortles was trying to make in the first drive of the second half. Right there, Stafford shows how you're supposed to do it.
Final minute of the third quarter. Golden Tate. And the ball came out. Ball is loose. And Telvin Smith recovers for Jacksonville. What an emotional week for Telvin Smith. His brother was murdered last Sunday. His girlfriend gave birth to a baby boy on Wednesday. Jaguars weren't sure if he was going to play in this game, and he recovers the Golden Tate fumble.
Yeah. Audric pulls down Tate. Telvin Smith stays with it. He was the first one there. And I think Telvin Smith actually forced the fumble and recovered it. The double whammy.
Yeah, what a great play by Telvin Smith. You know, I mean, what an inspiration. What he's been through, to come back and focus and make a play for his team like that.
First fumble this season by Golden Tate. And now the Jaguars with a 3-point lead and the ball. Final 30 seconds of the third quarter.
And now it looks like that running game of the Jaguars is their bread and butter. I mean, they're coming out on first down and they are absolutely pounding the football, and they're looking like a team that has found something today.
So the Lions have trailed in the fourth quarter of every game this season, and they'll be behind to start the fourth quarter when we come back. Coming up after this message and a word from your local station, it'll be the fourth quarter here on CBS. Golden Tate holding on to the football, something he was not able to do on the last drive by the Lions. The turnover, Jacksonville leads by 3 to start the fourth quarter. On 2nd and 4, it is Chris Ivory, and he loses one on the play. Familiar position for the Lions. As we said before the break, they've trailed in the fourth quarter in every game this season. The Lions and the Browns are the only two teams to trail in the fourth quarter every game. That streak continues today as Cleveland is down to Pittsburgh in the fourth quarter. But the difference for the Lions, they've found ways to come back and win 5 times this year. Matthew Stafford hoping to do number 6 today. 3rd down and 5. Ivory went off, so it's Denard Robinson at running back. Bortles completes it to Thomas, and this is going to be marked a half a yard shy of a 1st down.
Miles Killebrew continues to make key tackles and be the guy that stops the Jacksonville Jaguars. Killebrew has really had a nice game. This young star out of Southern Utah, man on Julius Thomas, wraps him up. As like I said earlier, he's 6'2", 222, so he's got that physical ability to stop guys. He has played a monster game.
6 tackles for the rookie out of Southern Utah. Big one there. Forces Jacksonville to bring out Brad Nortman with Andre Roberts back deep at his own 15-yard line. Roberts comes up and calls for a fair catch at the 20. Lions going back on offense. They trail by 3. The Lions looking for another fourth quarter comeback. All 9 of their games decided by 7 points or fewer. They've erased that fourth quarter deficit 5 times. And Matthew Stafford, no one has had more game-winning drives in the fourth quarter overtime since 2011 than the Lions quarterback. They trailed in the fourth in every game this season. Down by 3 here with 13:24 to go. Stafford looking to throw on 1st down and is batted down at the line. Avery Jones got a hand on that one, continues to play well in place of the injured Roy Miller.
And one of the things that Jim Caldwell told us about his quarterback, Matthew Stafford, is he said he's not afraid to lose. That's one of his biggest attributes, meaning that he will take chances and he will continue coming back and continue believing he's going to find a way to figure it out. He cannot discourage him or his teammates because of it. They believe in those situations, they're going to find a way to win every time.
Stafford over the middle to Golden Tate for a Lions 1st down. It was Jalen Ramsey on the coverage. And a gain of 13 for the Lions.
Really nice throw here by Matthew Stafford on time. Golden Tate right out of his break, but that ball comes out of his hand like a rocket. I mean, just right on the money, right between the 1 and the 5.
That is a great throw. You saw there too, that ball had about 4 inches of arc on it as it got from Stafford to Tate. He's got a big one, and he uses it to good advantage.
Theo Riddick on the carry, and again bottled up by this Jaguars defense. Detroit with just 10 yards rushing today. They average 86 per game. Jacksonville has shut down their run game.
One thing too about Stafford, I mean, they've decided to go huddle up here again, and I get it. I mean, they struggle a little bit at times because of the no huddle with their offensive line, but I still think it's the best way to move the football against this Jacksonville team today.
Stafford in trouble, and he is sacked. It was Yannick Ngakoue getting back there to bring down Matthew Stafford.
Well, that's exactly what you're looking for out of your front four. Lane, discipline. You got pressure coming up on the outside. You saw right there, there was a lot of good pressure coming from Yannick Ngakoue pushing that right tackle for Detroit. Riley Reef back into Stafford's lap. Stafford has to step up and right into the pressure inside. Textbook sack for the Jacksonville defense.
They split the sack between Ngakoue and Fowler. And it's 3rd down and long for the Lions. Pressure coming again. Stafford steps up, throws on the run. Wide open is Ebron. Eric Ebron down the sideline. One man to beat, and Cyprien saves a touchdown. 1st and goal for Detroit after a gain of 62.
I have have often compared Matthew Stafford's abilities, not his success overall as a quarterback, but his abilities to John Elway, because he can change the game with one play better than anybody in the NFL, or as good as anybody in the NFL. You make a mistake, you might make him look bad 3, 4, 5 plays in a row, but if you make a mistake, he will make you pay quickly.
And now a stoppage, and Jacksonville calls timeout.
I'm with you, Steve Berline. A big arm can
First
cover
yard
a lot
timeout.
of problems. And on that
Jacksonville.
play,
30-second timeout.
Stafford's ability to buy himself a half a second, that's really all it was. He stepped up, and it takes about a half second for him to get out of the pocket right there and make this throw right here. And that's all it takes. Ebron is a guy that is a great athlete. He has really come on. This has been his best year as a pro. He's got 5 out of the 6 games he's played in. He's had 5+ receptions. That's by far his best stretch, the best stretch of his career. He's feeling it. He's one of those guys with 30+ catches on this Lion offense. And, you know, you got to cover him up all over the field, particularly when Stafford can make every throw all over the field.
Officially a 61-yard catch, which is the longest of Ebron's career. And now following the Jacksonville timeout, it's 1st and goal for the Lions. They have scored on every red zone trip this season. Oakland, the only other team to do that. Riddick inside the 5, and Riddick down at the 1. Jared Odrick makes the tackle at 2nd and goal from the 1.
Now this is well executed by the offensive line. Did a great job up front, pulling guard center around and moving Riddick right up inside behind them. That's just well executed.
Lions only have 3 rushing touchdowns all year. That's tied for the 2nd fewest, with Jacksonville only has 3 as well. 2nd and goal from the 1. Washington is the running back. They give it to Ebron on the run, and he's in! Eric Ebron with the touchdown. First rushing touchdown for Eric Ebron, his first touchdown in general since week 1 against the Colts.
You know what this is? It's a version of the jet sweep that most teams run with the wide receiver motioning in from the outside. This time, the Detroit Lions line up in their goal line package with 3 tight ends. They motion Eric Ebron across the formation, give him the ball, and he's outside before the defense even knows what hit him.
Not only his first rushing touchdown, that was the first carry of his career. And Detroit back on top as Prater boots the extra point with 10:03 to go. Matthew Stafford and Eric Ebron getting it done on that drive for Detroit.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Head & Shoulders. Shoulders were made for greatness, not dandruff. Garmin Fitness. Let's beat yesterday. And by K Jewelers. For 100 years, every kiss begins with K.
Lions lead the Jaguars 23-19. We've had 6 lead changes today. Now Detroit has scored an offensive touchdown, a defensive touchdown, and a touchdown on special teams. They lead it by 4 with 10:03 to go. Looking for yet another 4th quarter come from behind win. This is returnable for Lee. Lee at the 30. Marquise Lee still moving across the 40. A nice return by Marquise Lee. Give him 42 yards on the return. It gives Jacksonville good field position to start this drive. Well, Eric Ebron, the story on that last drive for the Lions, the big catch, and then he caps it off with the rushing touchdown.
I really like Eric Ebron, and you talked about it, Steve, how productive he's been this year. The last 2 weeks, 7 catches each game. Last week, their leading receiver, or actually 2 weeks ago against Minnesota, their leading receiver was 7 catches, 92 yards.
Well, with Theo Riddick and Ebron both inside the numbers, it really forces, and plus the fact that Stafford's throwing it to everybody under the sun. I mean, they all got 30 catches each. That really changes things for a defense, and I think on this day, today, you can really see it.
Well, that's Ebron's 7th catch of the season of over 20 yards, too. He's a big guy that can get up the field and make plays, dynamic playmaker.
You saw Aurelius Ben was shaken up on the kick return, so the Jaguars receiver heads off to the sideline as Blake Bortles and the Jaguars offense back out on the field. They start this drive on the ground, and Ivory is spun down. It was Stephon Charles getting in the backfield, a loss of 5.
Just like when the Jaguars came out after their offense scored on a touchdown drive a little bit earlier, a drive like what the Detroit Lions put together right there, that last one coming out of it with a touchdown, energizes the defense, energizes the stadium, and that is what allows and creates that enthusiasm and the penetration on that play in the backfield for Detroit.
Bortles, and Julius Thomas wasn't even looking. 3rd down and long for Jacksonville. Josh Bynes had the coverage on Thomas.
It comes right there, across, and he's
no idea that ball was even.
He's looking at Josh Bynes thinking, wow, I'm covered. They're not going to throw it to me, and Blake Bortles has already released it.
One of the big weak spots for the Lions defense this year has been guarding the opposing tight end. They've allowed 9 touchdowns, but today Julius Thomas only has 3 catches for 12 yards. It's 3rd and 15. Bortles in trouble, steps up, throws, completes it to Robinson, but well short of a first down. It was Darius Slay on the coverage, and out comes Brad Nortman.
Well, good pressure up the field from the Detroit Lions. You can see dropping defensive lineman. That was Kerry Hyder, the young defensive lineman, dropping back into coverage, number 61. Trying to give an exotic look to Blake Bortles. Got a little pressure on him. He had to move around in the pocket. Nowhere to go with that football.
So the 2nd straight 3 and out by Jacksonville, and they waste the nice return by Marquise Lee. Roberts back deep to return the punt. Fair catch at the 15-yard line with 8:19 to go in the 4th quarter. Lions getting the ball back ahead by 4. It's a comedy feast you'll never forget when Matt LeBlanc organizes his first Thanksgiving, an all-new Man with a Plan, right after a new Kevin Can Wait tomorrow, only on CBS.
These guys are, wow.
Yeah, quite a plan today.
That guy, he is enjoying the Lions game today, man. Shoulder pads, gloves. Oh, my goodness.
1st and 10 for Detroit. Washington going the wrong way. Cyprien comes up to make that tackle. A loss of 4 on the play with 8:10 to go in the 4th quarter.
Now that was exactly what the Detroit Lions did not need. Backed up in their own end of the field. You want to try and keep your defense off the field a little bit, milk some clock, get a few first downs, and it's on the last 4 drives, 203 yards for the Detroit Lions, but they got to get some first downs here, not go backwards.
Stafford using the clock, 7:40 to go and counting. Looking to throw on 2nd down over the middle. It's Riddick. Riddick with the cutback. Theo Riddick with a Detroit first down. Out to the 32-yard line after a gain of 20.
Really like the play call. You're going to see Theo Riddick on the right-hand side right here. All he's going to do, patiently come up outside and then come underneath. All these guys for the Jaguars are dropping out, knowing it's 2nd and long. And Riddick has 1 man to beat, and there you go. Nice little seam. He's as effective as any running back in the NFL, catching that football and running with it afterwards.
5 catches for 57 yards on the day for Theo Riddick. Play action. Stafford on the run, completes it to Ebron, who is cut down on that play by Deshaun Gibson.
That was a very sure tackle by Gibson. I like the fact he went up at the thigh muscles of Ebron. Ebron got a chance to see him coming and brace a little bit, get up off the ground and get his feet off the ground. And yeah, that's
it is a violent game.
Oh yeah, it's a good play on both ends.
So you want to play in the NFL, huh?
Yeah, I'll stay in the booth.
You got to be taking hits like that.
Goes for 7 yards. Ebron now with 3 catches for 70 yards on the day. Again, Stafford using the play clock, takes the snap with 4. Looking to throw again, completes it to Riddick. Telvin Smith is able to bring him down.
Yeah, that's a great tackle by Smith. If he doesn't make that, Riddick's got a chance to make one, get a little space, and try and knife through for the first down. That brings up a 3rd and 5 instead of maybe a 3rd and 1.
It is almost impossible to outflank Telvin Smith. He is so fast sideline to sideline, and his recognition and explosiveness once he makes the decision to go is second to none, really. He can fly sideline to sideline as well as any linebacker in the NFL.
This is a critical 3rd down with 5.5 minutes left. It's 3rd and 4. Stafford to Bolden, and he's got it for the first down. When in doubt this year, when the Lions have needed a big play, there's been no doubt. It's Stafford to Bolden to move the chains.
Yeah, we've said it a lot. I mean, we watch him on film. Bolden is a guy that when Stafford needs a catch, no matter who's guarding or how covered up they are, Bolden is a guy he counts on. He's got the strongest set of hands in the NFL. He's got great ball skills, and he makes the toughest catches down inside. That's why he has a lot of red zone touchdowns. In tight spaces, he's the best, and that's a great spot for a 3rd down conversion.
On 1st and 10, they pitch it to Washington, and he is stuffed by Paul Posluszny.
Wow, what a great play by Posluszny. That was a crack sweep coming around the left side, and if there's any hesitation out of your linebackers, that thing gets to the edge, and Posluszny read it so quickly, almost like he knew it was coming. He probably did, for all we know. He's such a student of the game, and he got himself there in great position to finish it off.
Rookie Jalen Ramsey was in there too, knifing in from the corner spot. A lot of traffic for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They saw that play coming and defended it great.
Lions trying to kill the clock with no running game. They've gained 6 yards on the ground today. That's why Stafford goes to the air, screen to Riddick, great cutback, slips a tackle, and gets out to midfield. It will be 3rd down, but you really have to question the Lions going forward if they can get this running game going.
With a little smoke and mirrors, they're using their short passing game as their running game, and this is a great example of it. Riddick's just going to bounce out. Instead of handing it to him, they just give it to him and give him some space, which, as you can see and you watch him play, that's when he's at his best. When he's got a little space in the open field, he'll make a guy or two miss. But right now, you're right. No running game for the Lions, and they're substituting a short passing game to compensate.
Another big 3rd down, 3rd and 6 as we move closer to 3 minutes to go. Jaguars need a stop on defense. 1 on the play clock. Stafford takes the snap, fires over the middle, and this time Bolden makes the catch, but not able to pick up the first down.
Wow, the rookie 1st-round draft choice out of Florida State, Jalen Ramsey, makes a play. He has turned everybody's head this year already that he is the real deal. He slips right around. That was supposed to be one of those pick plays. Here we go.
And Lions go right to the line on 4th down and short. Well, they just try to draw the Jaguars offside. 4th and 2. And did it work?
Oh my gosh.
Everyone in the building knew what the Lions were doing there except Derek Marks.
And he's the most experienced defensive lineman they have.
Encroachment. Defense number 99. 5-yard penalty. Results in a 1st down.
He's the one that should have been telling everybody, hold your water, don't jump. We know they're trying to pull us offside.
You never see Gus Bradley upset, and he is hot. Everybody in Michigan knew this was going to be a hard count, and Derek Marks handed him the 1st down on a silver platter. That is an absolute mental mistake that causes a team to go 2-7. See, The most positive head coach in the National Football League, and he is absolutely disgusting.
And Derek Marks last week ripped the Jaguars. He said it was a slap in the face that he only played 23 defensive snaps. Couldn't believe that he wasn't out there for a longer period of time. Now he's out there in a big spot, and he commits the penalty that could cost the Jaguars the game, or at least a chance to get the ball back, as they only have 2 timeouts remaining and the 2-minute warning. A fresh set of downs for the Lions. Washington able to pick up 3 on the play, and Gus Bradley uses 1 of his timeouts, so now he only has 1 remaining with 2:30 to go.
Yeah, and that's it. The timeouts now come into play for Gus Bradley. He could have saved them if he would have held them on a 3rd down and short. Wow.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Progressive, handing off big savings to you. And by Subway. Try the classic Reuben, stacked with corned beef, limited time only.
2:30 to go. Jacksonville has 1 timeout remaining. They trail by 4. It'll be a 2nd down and 7, but right now it's Derek Marks who is the GOAT for the Jaguars, going offsides on a 4th down play where it didn't appear that Detroit was even going to snap the football. It's always been one thing in a game for Jacksonville. It was one little thing. They haven't played that poorly today, but now a penalty on 4th down could be what sends them to their 5th straight loss. 2nd down and 7. Washington. And he gets a couple on the play, and Gus Bradley will use his final timeout with 2:25 to go, and now another big 3rd down coming up for Detroit. Don't forget, coming up next, Carson Wentz and the Eagles go to work against Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, or the Patriots visit the 49ers. Check your local listings. And we could be in a spot where if Jacksonville gets a stop here on 3rd down, where Jim Caldwell would have an intriguing decision. Does he try to attempt a long field goal, make it a 7-point game? Matt Prater is very successful from 50 yards and longer, or does he try to go for it and just try to end the game? We'll see what Caldwell does.
Yeah, I mean, the potential also would be to punt the ball and try and pin him back.
Well, he's also up 4, so the field goal doesn't hurt him going the other direction. They've already got to score a touchdown to win. And that's the question. I think it depends on the yardage here, but there's no question they could get the field goal. They're well within Prater's range.
Could be a moot point if they convert on 3rd and 5. Stafford steps up, completes it to Riddick, and he's got the 1st down. Pushed out of bounds by Telvin Smith. A 1st down for Detroit, and Jacksonville cannot stop the clock with timeouts. They only have the 2-minute warning to save them.
Well, Gus Bradley told us one of the things that is underrated about Matthew Stafford is his pocket presence, his ability to move around, buy time, and with that arm he can deliver the ball wherever he wants to down the field. But, you know, we're pointing fingers at Derek Marks. No doubt he was the GOAT, so to speak, Andrew, but you got to think about this also. You gave up a pick 6 and a punt return for a touchdown as well. Those are the reasons why Jacksonville's losing this ball game.
Washington on the ground. He is thrown back by Jacksonville, and that will take us to the 2-minute warning, with Detroit looking for its 6th come-from-behind win this year. And with Minnesota beating Arizona right now, this would be a huge win for the 1st-place Lions. 2 minutes to go in Detroit. The Lions trying to hold on for their 6th win of the season and remain at least tied atop the NFC North going into the Thanksgiving Day battle against the Vikings. And how about this? They only have 10 yards rushing today. It would be their fewest rush yards in a win since 1950, although they're hoping to add to their total here with Washington on 2nd and 11 as the running back. He gets the call, and Washington gets to the line of scrimmage. It'll be 3rd down. Again, Jacksonville cannot stop the clock. They have no timeouts remaining. They had to use a timeout earlier in the quarter when Detroit went down the field on the Ebron long play before it was 1st and goal. Jacksonville had to use a timeout there, one they certainly could use right here.
This is the point where now the Lions standing around. They'll take a timeout here when the play clock gets down to 1 second. Jim Caldwell standing next to the official.
First timeout this half used by Jim Caldwell in the Lions. And do you run the ball here, or do you put it in the air with Stafford?
Third and 11 in this situation. I don't think you throw the ball unless you're doing something very, very safe.
Screen pass.
If you get a one-on-one matchup on the outside and want to take a shot at a fade to end the game, put it out of reach, I'm okay with that with Matthew Stafford as a quarterback, but nothing that requires him holding the ball with the potential of throwing the ball over the middle where it could get deflected or intercepted. It's going to be a run or a very, very safe pass.
Yeah, if it's going to be a safe pass, the most risky thing you do is a hard play action to make sure, because the defense has got to think you're going to try and run the football. You may pop something loose, and even if you don't, you tell Stafford not to throw it away. Just kind of duck down and then start to kill the clock. Do not throw an incomplete pass. Get an easy completion or a run play.
Down at 12. They will run it. It's Riddick. And Theo Riddick gets to the 25-yard line. It's 4th down. And let's see what Jim Caldwell does right here.
Well, now here, I don't think there's any question. You got to send Prater out now. Ball at the 26-yard line.
Looks like they're going to take the clock down and then call another timeout like they did on the previous play.
Yeah. And they made the right call going with the run there too. The risk of an incomplete pass is the one thing you do not want.
Yeah, you're up by 4. That's a big difference from being up by 3. You're going to win the game. They've got to score a touchdown to beat you. And now if you kick this field goal, a touchdown ties you.
So the clock is stopped with 26 seconds. And Matt Prater will come out. He had an extra point blocked today, and he did hit from 27 yards out.
You know, Jacksonville is up against it once again, and they go for their 5th straight loss. But I'll tell you what, Jacksonville's got a defense. They play really well against the pass. They don't get too many sacks, as I said before, but they do defend the pass extremely well. They've been really good against the run today against Detroit. I mean, it's been unbelievable how poorly Detroit has run the football, and you got to give Jacksonville some credit for that. But they gave up a pick 6 on offense, and they gave up a kick return in special teams, and now this defense is out there kind of playing by itself.
Keep an eye on Ramsey. He leaped over the line on a Prater attempt earlier in the game, nearly blocked it. Looks like he's trying to do the same thing, times it out, up and over, nearly got there, and Prater's kick is good, but there's a flag down. And did Ramsey make contact with Prater?
Well, that was from the side. He was offsides. He jumped ahead of the snap. He did make contact, but he didn't use it to propel him, which is what the penalty would be called. He was offsides before the snap.
He's not allowed to be on the center, over the center, when the ball is snapped. He has to be a yard off, and if he was closer than that, right over the center, that's a penalty.
And it was 4th and 6, so if it's a 5-yard penalty, it would not give Detroit a 1st down.
Yeah, and he was within a yard of the line of scrimmage, right over the long snapper, and you can't be there. You have to be off the ball when the ball is snapped coming over the center, and he mistimed it.
Yeah, I thought he was offsides, but that replay showed that he wasn't. The flag came
now
from
this
way
is a problem
outside,
for Jim Caldwell. Do you take the time off the clock by letting him run another play and kicking it? Or, I mean, it's not going to be a 1st down. I don't know if you take the points off the board at this point. The only reason you'd have Prater kick it again was to take the time off the clock, trusting he'll make it again. You know what I mean? And this is interesting for Jim Caldwell.
At the snap, the leaper was on the line of scrimmage. Therefore, it's an illegal formation on the defense. which is a 5-yard penalty. Detroit has declined the penalty, took their 3 points, field goal's good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, you can't take the points off the board.
No. Right.
Doesn't make sense.
Right. You wouldn't decline
22 seconds left.
If there were 4 seconds left, maybe you do that, and then because it kicks it irrelevant.
So
you see there, he can't.
It was Jalen Ramsey offsides, or
He was on the
defensive formation. He was inside the space allowed. In other words, it was too early.
There you go. Nearly got there, though.
That's it.
Like he did earlier in the game. That's becoming a more popular play in the NFL, and Ramsey nearly was able to get there, even though he just creeped too close to the center before leaping. So 22 seconds left. Jaguars have no timeouts remaining, and Detroit will have to kick it away. Ramsey.
That's a guy that's playing really well during a 5-game losing streak, and that's hard to handle. It is hard to handle. You pour your body and soul into an effort, and your side of the ball, defense played pretty darn well, and it just didn't get any help.
They're playing their hearts out, and you know, the young players. It's a long season in the NFL, and coming from a program like Florida State, not used to losing.
That's the thing, right there. I mean, Jalen Ramsey hasn't had a stretch like this. Blake Bortles told us yesterday he's never gone through adversity like this before in his career. A lot of these young Jaguars haven't had seasons like this, and I think that's part of the reason why Ramsey is emotional right now, as Jacksonville needs a miracle to avoid its 5th straight loss.
Those kind of pictures, though, right there symbolize to people watching on TV what these games mean to these players.
Martin boots this one through the end zone. So Jacksonville will get the ball at the 25-yard line. They'll have to go 75 yards in 22 seconds. There is Telvin Smith, whose brother was killed last Sunday in Georgia. He was only with the Jaguars 1 day this week. He was there at the facility on Friday, went through the walkthrough, and then went back home to Georgia to be with his family. Bortles loads up, looking for Marquise Lee, and it's incomplete. Off the hand of Marquise Lee. And with 16 seconds left, it's 2nd and 10.
A good job by Marquise Lee there, just to prevent that from being intercepted. I thought it was overthrown.
Yeah, Glover Quinn was waiting on it like a punt.
Fair catch.
Lions trying to go to 4-1 at home this season, with the Vikings coming to town on Thanksgiving Day. Bortles again steps into a throw, looking for Robinson, goes up, it's juggled, and incomplete. 8 seconds remain.
For me, I think in these situations, it's obviously desperate times, but I think when you got 27 seconds left, I think you run the hook and lateral and the desperation play earlier, so if you do, you can get down and then run it again. And on this play, I mean, you're going one-on-one with triple coverage, and you're just not going to get it done.
Well, the other thing you have to do is you have to hit 2 Hail Marys like Aaron Rodgers did, you know, was that last year or 2 years? Was it last year?
Last year against Detroit.
Detroit, yeah, that's the only way you win this game.
Lions fans no longer like you, Steve Berlon, for bringing that up. Bortles over the middle, behind Lee, intercepted off his foot. Wilson to the ground, and the Detroit Lions, for the 6th time this year, erase a 4th quarter deficit and come back to win a game.
You know, that pretty much summarizes everything for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and specifically Blake Bortles, to have the game end like that. Not that that play lost the game, but how does a game end like that? Second throw in 2 weeks is intercepted off of one of his teammates' foot.
Yep,
I mean,
kick in the air and right into the waiting arms.
They put 2 seconds back on the clock, so Detroit will have to take a knee. But look at the margin of victory here. 7 points again. Their first 10 games for the Lions now have all been decided by 7 points or less, and they've won 6 of the 10. We asked Jim Caldwell about it. He said, look, we're just good at playing situational football. I mean, nothing the Lions did today was overly impressive, but here they are again, celebrating a win, 26-19. Stay tuned for Game 2 of our doubleheader, Philadelphia at Seattle or New England at San Francisco. For Steve Tasker, Steve Berline, our entire crew, this is Andrew Catalan saying so long from Detroit. Coming up, the NFL Today Update will take you back to New York right after this.